At its peak, Mumias Sugar Company was producing up to 300,000 tons of sugar annually, contributing over 60% of Kenya's sugar needs. It wasn't just dominating the local market, it was the largest sugar producer in East Africa.
This factory supports 2 million people from Kakamega, 1.8 million people from Bungoma, 890,000 people from Busia.
Mumias offered opportunities to millions and brought prosperity to the locals as farmers greatly benefited from cane farming in the area.
Bika mimi nilikuwa mdozi kwa sababu nilikuwa nimelima miwa, nimenunua lori, nimenunua gari ndogo ya kutembelea.
Today, it is a pale shadow of its former self. In this video, we will explore the history of Mumias Sugar's foundation, the political reasons for its establishment, and the numerous factors that led to its decline. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more stories from Kenya. In the late 1960s, the Jomo Kenyatta government sought to appease the communities in Western Kenya who felt marginalized as most development projects were concentrated in the central regions. To address this imbalance, the government decided to find a cash crop for Western Kenya and asked Booker McConnell to undertake a pilot scheme to establish the viability of this sugar project. By 1971, Mumias Sugar Company was established, with the government holding a 71% stake. Other shareholders included Commonwealth Development Corporation, 17%, Kenya Commercial Finance, 5%, East Africa Development Bank, 3%, and Booker, 4%. However, the foundation of Mumias was marred by conflicts of interests and questionable decisions. For example, the feasibility study was conducted by a subsidiary of the company that designed the factory, which was also a subsidiary of Booker. Booker later secured a 30-year management contract for the company in 1973. Under the Booker management contract with Mumias Sugar Company, they were responsible for managing an initial 8,000-acre estate and the Outgrower's 20,000 acres within a 12-kilometer radius of the factory. This contract also included overseeing the operations of the factory, built at a cost of 315 million shillings. Booker's role was to manage both the factory and the estate. Additionally, they also established Booker Academy, contributing further to the community. Under the leadership of Mwai Kibaki, the Treasury advocated for the formation of an Outgrowers organization to act as a buffer between farmers and Mumias Sugar Company. This led to the establishment of Mumias Outgrowers Company (MOCO) in 1975. MOCO assumed the responsibility of providing credit to all contracted outgrowers, representing their interests with Mumias Sugar Company, the government, and any other external bodies, and negotiating on behalf of the over 77,000 farmers, many of whom were illiterate. In collaboration with Mumias Sugar, MOCO managed all aspects of development. This included land surveys, plowing, harrowing, farrowing, providing seed cane and fertilizers, as well as harvesting and transportation. These services were extended to the farmers as soft loans, which were recovered from the proceeds after the cane was harvested. MOCO worked to ensure mutual benefits for farmers and shareholders. By the 1990s, private players like Jaswant Singh Rai of West Sugar Company had already entered the market and were gaining momentum, often operating more efficiently than Mumias. This stark contrast raised suspicions of corruption and mismanagement within the company. However, that was nothing compared to what was going to happen later. In 2001, the government offloaded 50% of its holdings in Mumias Sugar and retained 20% as the company went public and was listed in the NSE. The farmers retained 30% of the company. In 2003, the Booker management contract with Mumias ended, and they advertised for the position of managing director. The recruitment was done by PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they picked Evans Kidero as the new boss. During Kidero's tenure, Mumias Sugar Company aimed to gain greater control over its supply chain and pricing mechanisms. Some sources suggest that political interests influenced this decision, intending to weaken the collective bargaining power of the farmers. After Mumias was privatized, farmers devised a scheme where each farmer would contribute a percentage of their gross harvest into an account specifically set up for purchasing Mumias Sugar Company shares. This collective effort aimed to give farmers a unified voice on the board of directors through their representation under Mumias Outgrowers Company, MOCO. However, when it came time to purchase the shares, it is alleged that Kidero and other parties using the courts insisted that farmers buy the shares individually.
Yule managing director ambaye alikuwepo wakati huo alikuwa very uncomfortable. Hakukuwa anafurahia hiyo kampuni ya MOCO ikuwepo kwa sababu ilikuwa inazungumzia maneno ambayo inahusu wakulima.
This move significantly diluted their collective power. As a result, instead of having a unified voice through MOCO, each farmer was issued individual shares. This situation left many farmers vulnerable to exploitation. Conmen approached farmers directly, misleading them about the value of their shares and convincing them to sell at a fraction of their actual worth.
At the time, people came and cheated them and told them this share certificate is just a piece of paper. You don't need it. So some people who thought they were clever, but in my view they were stupid. They would tell you this is 3,000 shares, let me give you 3,000. Then they go to the stock exchange and sell for 30,000. That they did. That is when we sold our birthright.
Consequently, many farmers lost their shares to these conmen, as they did not fully understand the value of their holdings or how the stock market works. Initially, MOCO was responsible for negotiating better tonnage prices and lower input costs for farmers. By cutting off this link, Mumias Sugar Company could lower the price per tonnage without consultation and charge higher rates for inputs. By 2009, MOCO was completely paralyzed and had stopped operations.
Actually, the management of Mumias Sugar Company used some of the politicians to ensure that MOCO is kicked out.
And that's when things really started going south for the farmers. Without MOCO to secure their interests, they began losing their dues when sugarcane-loaded tractors arrived at the weighbridge. Here, rogue company employees devised and executed schemes to defraud the farmers. Some of the tons were transferred from the farmers' accounts to those created by these rogue employees.
Some of them could develop fields on the computer, plant sugarcane on computer, and harvest from computer, where actually that farm was non-existent.
Consequently, the farmers' statements reflected less than the actual amount supplied.
Miwa yake ikitoka kabini kwa shamba ikiwa tani kama 10, ikifika hapo inakuwa tani 2, tani 3. Sasa unashangaa hii miwa yote ilikuwa imejaa. Inakuaje unapata tani 2?
Essentially, the rogue employees added themselves to the list of farmers and defrauded the actual farmers of millions of shillings.
That ability to access the computer makes them change, or add themselves or their names to the list of farmers.
As the board, did you ever look into the issue?
No, I do, not to my mind. We kind of overlooked certain teeth that we had that we could have beaten, the dog that was disturbing the industry.
So you do realize about saying that you're pointing to some element of complacency?
Absolutely. That's what I'm pointing at. On hindsight, I think we could have done more.
This situation led to more farmers abandoning cane farming, significantly reducing the production in Mumias. Why spend 18 months taking care of cane that was seemingly unprofitable?
So if you take 2 years and you are paid a negative or not paid for another 1 year, then your life stands.
Mashamba imebakia bure. Hatuna kazi ya kufanyia mashamba.
By 2012, when Kidero left Mumias Sugar to pursue politics, there was a serious shortage of cane and the diffuser often lay idle. Out of the over 65,000 farmers contracted to Mumias Sugar when Kidero took over, less than 50% remained by 2012. According to Kidero, he did a good job at Mumias, making profits in all his years there. But at what cost?
Over the years that I was there, we made cumulative profits of 15 billion shillings. Sales grew from 6 billion to 15 billion. We made profits every year. We paid farmers.
The farmers were massively taken advantage of, bearing the brunt of the mismanagement at Mumias Sugar Company. Payments to the farmers were increasingly delayed, sometimes for months, and when they did arrive, they were significantly less than what was owed due to various deductions.
This is a statement from a contracted farmer for Mumias Sugar Company. From a gross of 575,117 shillings, the farmer was to receive a net pay of only 66,575 shillings.
Her gross payment is 166,000, but her net is 7,800.
The farmers faced relentless challenges as the local management of Mumias Sugar Company completely lost sight of its original objectives. These objectives included providing a source of cash income for farmers, creating job opportunities in an area that lacked major industrial undertakings, and reducing overdependence on sugar importation. Speaking of sugar importation, Peter Kebati, who replaced Kidero, was involved in a scandal where cheap substandard sugar was imported illegally from Kenana in Sudan. This sugar was repackaged as a product of Mumias Sugar Company, packed and sold to the market, cutting off the farmer entirely. Evidence indicated that this had been going on for at least 2 years.
Why even Kenya Sugar Board itself allowed the Mumias Sugar to import sugar, and they, at the same time, they are manufacturers? To us, we can't be able to understand that.
I've realized that they were trying to marry Tandes and Mumias Sugar so that they can get a loophole of even making more money.
They are selling off the Kenana sugar from Sudan vis-a-vis what they are selling from the local market. So the biggest culprit of the current problem which the sugar sector is currently facing, it is Mumias Sugar.
An investigation was underway which led to the KPMG forensic report. In 2014, KPMG conducted a forensic audit on Mumias Sugar Company, revealing extensive mismanagement and potential corruption. During Kidero's tenure, contracts were awarded to unregistered companies and tenders were approved despite being submitted after deadlines. Kidero also ignored internal auditor recommendations, leading to significant financial mismanagement.
By implementation of an income generating project that left a big hole in the company's finances, including building a perimeter wall, tarmacking all the roads within the company, the loss-making power generation and water bottling plant.
Kuna hiyo administration block ambayo alijenga. Nasikia ya kwamba watu wa National Construction Authority wanasema ya kwamba hiyo nyumba it's not habitable, ya kwamba haiwezi kutumika tena kama ofisi. So unakuta ya kwamba zile pesa ambazo zimeenda pale zaidi ya milioni 800, hizo pesa zimeenda na maji, zimepotea.
Peter Kebati was accused of opening an undisclosed bank account in Dubai for sugar sales and engaging in unauthorized procurement practices. Other key individuals were also implicated. The report estimated that these issues cost the company billions of Kenya shillings. The findings highlighted systemic corruption, transforming public perception of Mumias Sugar Company from a national asset to a case study of corporate mismanagement. Mumias town, once vibrant and bustling, faced severe decline as Mumias Sugar Company struggled. Shops closed, unemployment rose, and the population dwindled as people left in search of better opportunities. Farmers, heavily reliant on sugarcane production, were hit the hardest. Internal mismanagement played a significant role in the company's downfall, but external factors also contributed. The Kenyan sugar market was flooded with cheap imports, often through dubious means.
Sio ni kusema hiyo ni sukari bandia. Sasa kama mimi naweza kuelewa hiyo, wale ambao wanasimamia kwa nini hawawezi kushika hao? Si lazima wafanye kazi yao? Na tunataka kuona mambo haya yakifanyika, because we cannot have illegal sugar coming into this country and destroying the livelihood of farmers.
As the company neared collapse, the Kenyan government intervened with bailouts, attempting to revive the once proud symbol of the nation's sugar industry. In 2015, President Uhuru Kenyatta authorized the release of 1 billion shillings to jumpstart Mumias Sugar Company. This was followed by further capital injections, with bailouts reaching more than 3.5 billion shillings by 2018. Errol Johnson was appointed as the new managing director in 2015, tasked with reviving the company. Having served on the MOCO board, he explained the challenges of running Mumias Sugar without a body representing farmers the way MOCO used to.
But then in 2009, MOCO collapsed.
I was a member of the board of MOCO. I sat on the board for 2.5 years. While it always had its problems, it worked, and it was a great way of communicating to the farmers. For me, it was easy to pick up the phone and call the chairman of MOCO or call the GM of MOCO and say, quick, come and have a meeting, we've got a problem here. Now, when I have a problem somewhere 60 kilometers away, who do I call? There's no central body representing the farmers.
Johnson, who was earning 3.4 million Kenya shillings per month, attempted to resign 3 times unsuccessfully before eventually fleeing the job. Not only did he leave the troubled company, but he also left the country entirely after just 2 years at the helm, citing the government's failure to provide the timely financial assistance.
If government happens to bring even 1 billion here now, we will find the board of directors will be sitting 3 times in a month, and they pay each other 60,000 every sitting.
Despite the massive infusion of capital, the funds seemed to vanish into a black hole of debt and mismanagement. There was no significant improvement in the company's financial position or operations. The bailouts, intended as a lifeline, appeared to merely delay the inevitable. After years of struggle and decline, Mumias Sugar Company reached its breaking point in September 2019. The company was placed under receivership by Kenya Commercial Bank after failing to pay its debts. PVR Rao was appointed the receiver manager. However, the High Court blocked the bank from auctioning the company's assets, a last-ditch effort to protect the assets and potentially revive operations. The KCB management saw the only viable route for the recovery of Mumias Sugar Company was to allow a private entity to inject capital and manage the company for a few years until it could pay off its debts. With the successful bidder acquiring the factory, the nucleus estate, and the responsibility of thousands of frustrated farmers. Bids came in, and when the bidders' financial proposals were disclosed, the receiver made a major mistake unheard of in bidding history. He picked the lowest bidder. This decision sparked a legal battle between billionaire brothers Jaswant Singh Rai of West Kenya Sugar and Sabjit Rai of the Sarai Group from Uganda. Rao justified rejecting the higher bid by citing the risk of West Kenya dominating more than 40% of Kenya's sugarcane market, potentially creating a monopoly. However, West Kenya's lawyers argued that only the Competition Authority had the authority to decide on monopolies, not Rao. West Kenya's bid was significantly higher, as they were offering around 30 billion Kenya shillings over 20 years compared to Sarai's 5 billion over the same period. It is alleged that Rao's decision was influenced by politicians who cared more about which company would pay them for the tender instead of prioritizing which company was actually good for the revival of Mumias Sugar.
And I want to tell you, the problem with Mumias Sugar ni siasa, tele. And wanasiasa hawa wakati KCB, and I told the people, Kenya Commercial, hawa wanasiasa wanapenda ule kiongozi ambaye investor anakuja kuwapatia pesa. Kongo.
Following public outcry and legal challenges, the case was brought before Justice Alfred Mabea. In a landmark decision, Mabea nullified Sarai's lease and removed Rao from overseeing Mumias. Mabea's ruling emphasized that public interests required the revival of Mumias and that the leasing process must ensure the company's long-term survival for the benefit of the region's farmers and community. During this period, in his now infamous speech, Ruto made the Mambo ni Matatu declaration.
Hakuna kesi tuta-entertain hapo. Kesi watoe na wao wenyewe watoke. Nyinyi mnanielewa? Tunaelewana? Na nimewaambia mambo ni mangapi? Matatu. Wakitaka kuniletea kisirani, either wahame Kenya, ama nitawaweka jela, ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
Around this time, Jaswant Singh Rai, who had the potential to save Mumias due to his proven experience with Kabras as the oldest private sugar miller since the 80s, he ended up being abducted.
This shows that on 25th of August 2023, at exactly 5:42 on the 22nd, a Land Cruiser car, which we have confirmed is currently at the Kilimani police station, stopped at Wood Avenue Junction. A double cabin follows between two other cars, and within seconds the car is seen blocking the vehicle, boarded by Rai, and two men come out. In this video, out of the two men, one was seen to be armed with a gun.
Upon his release, he eventually dropped the case and his pursuit of Mumias Sugar. Mumias Sugar Company resumed operations on December 1st, 2023 after 4 years of inactivity, starting to receive sugarcane from farmers and releasing sugar to the market in 2024. I hate to be the prophet of doom, but deep down, I feel like Mumias Sugar Company will just fail again and become politicized for the 2027 general elections. Why do I think so? Well, remember when I mentioned earlier that the founding of Mumias Sugar Company had conflicts of interests and questionable decisions, citing how Buka approved the feasibility only because they were going to get the tender to manage Mumias and build the factory? Turns out, sugar isn't that feasible in small shambas, but they ignored this as their own interests were the priority. In a declassified letter from 1971, sugar farming consultant BCJ warned about the feasibility of Mumias. He pointed out that smallhold plots couldn't benefit from economies of scale. They tried to mimic plantations, but smallhold farms are fundamentally harder to profit from. This is why, aside from corruption and plunder, public sugar millers have all struggled. Even top sugarcane companies like West Sugar of Kabras, supporting over 60,000 farmers, still have to subsidize their sugar production with imports because Kenya's way of sugarcane production just isn't as profitable compared to other places with significantly larger plantations. Cane mostly thrives when grown in large plantations that are strictly controlled to fully benefit from the economies of scale. Expecting thousands of farmers to run their individual farms at the required standard has been difficult for all 9 privately owned sugar millers in Kenya. As Wands stated in the declassified letter, the outgrower is an individual. He can't be hired and fired even if it were politically acceptable to do so, which it is not. And yet, the collective fortunes of the entire body of outgrowers and the milling company itself depend absolutely on the willingness and ability of each and every grower. Share your thoughts in the comment section, and if you enjoyed this video, then consider watching the rise and fall of Sportpesa next.